Good evening, everybody. You've probably noticed that change is in the air in this country. And while early, it's far stronger than a light breeze. With 49 days to go until Donald Trump's inauguration, it is clear he's already beginning to lead the country in a new and brighter direction. Mr. Trump has arrived in Cincinnati, Ohio, where he will be holding shortly a rally at the U.S. Bank Arena. Tonight's rally, part of Mr. Trump's thank you tour across the critical battleground states that voted for him and put him over the top in the Electoral College. And the Trump team is planning more events in other big states that he won last month, including North Carolina, Iowa, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Florida. Earlier today, Mr. Trump was in Indianapolis, there meeting with some of the 800 carrier workers whose jobs he saved. Mr. Trump graciously thanking top executives of United Technologies and their subsidiary, Carrier Air Conditioning, for working with him to save those jobs. But the president-elect also made it clear that he wasn't elected to do business as usual and that from here on, companies that outsource American jobs to other countries will pay a big price.
These companies aren't going to be leaving anymore. They're not going to be taking people's hearts out. They're not going to be announcing, like they did at Carrier, that they're closing up and they're moving to Mexico.
I can't tell you how long I've waited for a national leader to say those words. And millions of workers, no matter who they voted for, after hearing those words, tonight they know they will soon have the right man in the Oval Office. We have an A-list lineup of guests tonight. Former Reagan White House political director, the Dean, Ed Rollins, joins us, as does the chairman of the Republican National Lawyers Association, Randy Evans. Also with us tonight, the first congressman to endorse Donald Trump for president, Congressman Chris Collins, and the special advisor for operations to the Trump transition team, Jeff DeWitt, with us tonight. Our top story, the president-elect not only already at work to keep his campaign promises, but to exceed himself. He's energetically already leading the nation. It was 534 days ago that Donald Trump launched his campaign for the White House, promising to be the greatest jobs president ever.
Because the greatest social program is a job. And they'll be proud, and they'll love it, and they'll make much more money. It can happen. I will be the greatest jobs president that God ever created.
Mr. Trump already making considerable progress toward that goal, today touting a deal to save jobs at Carrier's Indianapolis factory. Now, this hour, his thank you tour rally in Cincinnati to celebrate some of the voters who put him in office will get underway at almost any moment this hour. And when it does, we will be going straight to the stage to listen to him and to see what he has in store for us. Meanwhile, Fox News senior national correspondent John Roberts with the president-elect. Here's his report.
I want to thank all of the workers at this plant.
Still 7 weeks away from taking office, President-elect Donald Trump and his running mate made good on a campaign promise today, announcing a deal with Carrier to keep more than 1,000 jobs in Indiana.
When Donald Trump was running for president, he said that if he was elected president of the United States, America would start winning again. Well, today America won. And we have Donald Trump to thank.
At nearly every stop on the presidential campaign, Trump singled out Carrier for abandoning American workers, threatening massive tariffs if Carrier moved its Indianapolis operations to Mexico.
Indiana is the home of Carrier Air Conditioning, which is leaving for Mexico. We will be charging you a 35% tax every single year. Carrier Air Conditioners of the world are not going to get away with what they did. Carrier will not be leaving Indiana if I'm president.
Today, Trump indicated, as president, he'll use a combination of incentives and threats to keep other companies from leaving.
Companies are not going to leave the United States anymore without consequences.
At the transition office today, the palace intrigue continues over two of the top cabinet positions. After declaring yesterday there were 4 finalists for Secretary of State, sources now say that number is fluid. While Mitt Romney is still considered the frontrunner, Ambassador John Bolton will meet with Trump tomorrow afternoon to discuss the top job. Bolton says the State Department is in urgent need of reform.
It's not a question simply of a management restructuring. It needs a cultural revolution for a lot of reasons. And I think that's important going forward because of the damage that's done to American interests by not having a department, which is what we need to be effective advocating American interests.
Some officials in the transition office continue to push retired General David Petraeus for Secretary of State, though there is concern his conviction on leaking classified information could be problematic in confirmation. Petraeus would also have to notify his parole officer anytime he travels outside the state of North Carolina. But of course, Trump could always pardon him. Lou?
John Roberts, thank you very much. As we await the president-elect's appearance there in Cincinnati at the U.S. Bank Arena, we'll be going there as soon as he takes the stage, as I said. Here now to assess the political impact of Donald Trump's success with Carrier and Ford and the signal that it is sending to corporate America. Also, the reaction of the Republican establishment, of course, and Mr. Trump's clear warning that he won't tolerate the arbitrage of labor costs by taking jobs out of this country. Joining me now, a member of the RNC Rules Committee, chairman of the Republican National Lawyers Association, former senior advisor for the Newt Gingrich presidential campaign way back in 2012, Randy Evans. Good to have you with us, Randy. And
good to be here.
And Great America PAC strategist, former Reagan White House political director, veteran of 10 presidential campaigns, Fox News contributor. Did I mention he is the dean? Ed Rollins.
Thank you.
Good to have you both here. Well, we've landed here, so why don't we start with you, Ed? This is a remarkable day, delivering on those jobs at Carrier.
Extraordinary day. The mere fact that he's out of that White House, out of New York, the North White House, he's out there with the people again. He's telling them, I promised you I was going to do this. I did this. It was a complicated deal. They went right to United Technology, which is the mothership of this, warned them that if they basically didn't get involved in this, that Carrier, they'd pay a price too.
Well, United Technologies is extremely exposed, if you will, to the President of the United States because they live by defense contracts.
Which I just thought was a very smart move. But the bigger move is just going out there to those people saying, I promised you this. I'm going to be the president of the working people, and I'm going to basically move forward.
And he talked about ripping people's hearts out. It's over in this country, Randy Evans. You're a Republican, part of the establishment. That must have quickened the pulse of many Republican establishment figures who are used to, throwing out bromides about free markets and free trade.
Well, I think it certainly has lifted American spirits in ways that we couldn't have expected. Just think about it for a minute, Lou. Trump's elected, Castro dies, and Carrier stays. Now, that's impressive. Yeah. That's impressive for any president. And that's
he hasn't even started yet.
That's exactly right. He hasn't even started. But today, I was actually visiting my dad in the hospital down in Macon, and when the news broke about Carrier, you could see people just physically have a bigger step in their walk. They were much more in tune. Mm-hmm. They were listening and excited because they realized something had happened. We had a president who actually picked up the phone and did his job, which is to protect American workers. And boy, it changes everything when you get the American confidence up. Just look at what the market's doing. Look at consumer confidence. Look at buyer spending. I bet we have a great Christmas this year.
Well, I think we're going to have a great Christmas, irrespective of the markets. I think that there is, as you say, a palpable sense of a brightening of this country's prospects with the election of Donald Trump. I think there is also, as I said, a quickening of the pulse. There is some great excitement that we haven't seen in American presidential politics in a very long time.
Not only that, I think the new Treasury Secretary and Commerce Secretary are sitting out there laying out the tax plan, how you get taxes lower for businesses, how you're going to create jobs. I mean, he is really front and center with the promises he made. And I think going out and thanking voters 2 months after he gets elected is just a monumental thing. It shows
now, the talking points, gentlemen, the talking points here from the left, from the Democratic Party is, oh, this is just nonsense. He's the White House press secretary today, Josh Earn, is saying, well, after saving 1,000 jobs, he just needs to do this 900 more times or whatever the number was that he used. I mean, it's that snarky, snide, petty response to what is a very important development, and they cannot stomach the fact that this is a president, after all of the attacks and the hundreds of millions of dollars spent to run him down, is standing tall right now and leading this country. Randy, what do you think?
Lou, I completely agree. Trivializing a success. That's literally what it was. It was trivializing the success to save 1,000 workers whose Christmases were on the line, and to say, no, we're going to put an end to this, and this is just the start. This is just the beginning of what Donald Trump's going to do as the president. And to trivialize that, that just shows you exactly where they're coming from. That's how a country gets demoralized. That's how a country gets trivialized and marginalized, so that we are leading from behind. Well, guess what? We've now got a president that's going to lead from the front.
Leading from the front, and at the same time compelling the interest of the national left-wing media, no matter what, developing considerable suspense in the appointment process, even as he is making those appointments at a far faster rate than the two previous presidents had done, that is Bush and Obama. There's a lot of suspense around the Secretary of State. Today we learn that Mad Dog Mattis, the general, the Marine general, is the Trump choice to lead the Department of Defense. Your reaction? To me, I got to tell you, I think it's just it's a casting out of Hollywood.
I'm all for it. I think he's a fabulous man. He's led very effectively in every position he's ever been in, getting right to the top of the military, the Marines. I think he's superb. I think it's a great move. I think by putting a military leader in there is going to change that structure, just as John Bolton talked earlier about you need to change the structure of the State Department. I think Washington needs to be shook up, and this team will do that.
Randy Evans, I want to talk about one other thing, too, if I may. Excuse me. And I want to go to this issue of these death threats against electors in this country. You're an elector. Your reaction to it, we've heard estimates as many as 15 have been threatened. It's not even clear to me that the FBI is involved in investigating who are making those threats, but that's deeply troubling. Your reaction as an elector?
Well, I mean, as an elector, we're being bombarded with thousands of emails, thousands of letters, multiple threats every single day. The whole goal really is to get electors to either quit or not vote. Well, it's not working, but it certainly is harassing, and it's a direct violation of federal criminal law.
So why in the world isn't the FBI already all over this?
But, well, the same reason the FBI wouldn't investigate or recommend indictment of Hillary Clinton. They're part of the system. They're part of a system that is intent on disregarding the rule of law in favor of letting things like this happen. And I can tell you, you would be stunned if you read some of these threats, some of these emails that are getting sent out, letters that are getting, phone calls that are made to people's homes at all hours. And it's literally purely abusive.
If you'll forgive me, I get enough of my own without sharing. We'll keep our correspondence separate. I'm not sure. What is that old saying? Put that bag of troubles on the table. See whether you pick up somebody else's or your own. I'll take mine every time. Ed Rollins, Randy Evans, thanks for being with us. We appreciate it. We're awaiting the president-elect, as I said, Donald Trump, to take the stage shortly in Cincinnati. And when he does, we're going to be all over it and go there live. We're coming right back. We've got a lot to cover tonight. Stay with us throughout. It will be a rewarding experience, I assure you. Stay with us. The president and vice president-elect in Indiana today, they're securing jobs and serving notice on corporate America that outsourcing jobs will come at a high cost.
We're going to have a lot of phone calls made to companies when they say they're thinking about leaving this country because they're not leaving this country. They're not going to leave this country, and the workers are going to keep their jobs.
49 days until Mr. Trump takes office. Congressman Chris Collins joins me here next. The deadly wildfires in eastern Tennessee are still spreading disaster and only 10% controlled. We'll have the latest on those devastating wildfires in Tennessee here next. That and much more straight ahead. Stay with us. As you know, we're awaiting Trump's rally. His thank you tour is underway and begins with this rally tonight in Cincinnati. Meanwhile, this is where I get to say, well, I told you so, and I'm afraid we're going to have to keep talking about that. Speaker Paul Ryan couldn't help himself today. He was praising the effort to keep carrier jobs in Indiana. But he ended up, Speaker Ryan did, giving credit to the vice president-elect, Mike Pence. We didn't hear Donald Trump's name from the speaker, in point of fact.
Well, I'm pretty happy that we're keeping jobs in America, aren't you? I don't know the details of the carrier, the arrangement, but I do know that Mike Pence is still the sitting governor of Indiana, and I have no doubt that he probably had a hand in helping this, and this is what governors do.
Now, I got to tell you, that's a fella that just annoys the dickens out of me. You may have gathered that if you're a regular viewer of this broadcast, but he's taken it to levels that I'm thinking somebody ought to grab him by the ear. Congressional liaison to the Donald Trump transition team, Congressman Chris Collins, joins us now. He's also a member of, great to have you here, also a member of the House Energy and Commerce Committees. I got to say to you, Congressman, that fella, your speaker, is about as irksome and arrogant and is it illegal for one congressman to punch another? Could somebody just have satisfaction? Why do you guys put up with this?
Paul Ryan, the intellect, he is a very good speaker. I hear what you're saying.
Okay, you said that. I've got so much respect for you. But I got to ask you, what in the devil has this guy ever done? He goes around posing with his chin up like this, doing like it looks like something out of the socialist era. One of the folks in the Politburo. I mean, a heroic figure with his chin up. He doesn't do anything.
Well, I would just point out, to defend Paul Ryan, with our Freedom Caucus, the folks so upset with Obama they couldn't even sit down. He had to get things done so that we could keep the government running. We didn't default on our nation's debt. The nuts and bolts.
Are we saying his glory is, Congressman, that we haven't defaulted on our debt? Are you kidding me?
Well, no, I'm not kidding you, because I got to say we were close to it. So, I mean, I say what you say, but with Obama as president, we couldn't get much done. You can see Paul Ryan is going to work with Vice President-elect Pence to get the legislative agenda moving. We're going
with who? Who's he going to work with?
Well, on the legislative piece, Mike Pence is going to carry that water, so to speak, from the administration. We've got to get bills passed. We've got to get them signed into law.
That the American people have just elected a president who is standing tall for working men and women, their families, and you guys think you're going to work around him? I know
not
you
around him. No. Well, don't get me wrong. This is Donald Trump's agenda.
And I know you, as I said, I respect you, and I know you support Donald Trump. But I'm telling you, Speaker Ryan and the boys, Kevin McCarthy, are you kidding me? The Freedom Caucus is irrelevant now? Who are these fatuous...
So, Lou, it is going to be Donald Trump's agenda from A to Z. There's going to be people saying, yes, sir, we're going to go get this done. Now, to get this done, unfortunately, the reality is you got to get down in the weeds. You've got to mix it up. You've got a lot of committee work.
I think you're talking Donald Trump's language now. If you all want to mix it up, you're going to say, and I say you all.
Well, we do have to get it done. The legislative process, I come out of the private sector, is a little more complicated than some people think. It can actually, just be very mundane. But that is something that Mike Pence, with a background on the legislative piece, working with our leadership and our committees, this is getting things done so we have legislation and laws, not executive orders, laws passed and signed by President Trump.
I've been covering
with him
the American government
direction
for a long time, Congressman. I've seen it work beautifully. I have never seen it rise to the level that, that it is now a significant and historic occasion for a speaker to actually have passed 3 pieces of legislation his entire career, 17 years of it, and none of it worth a dang. It's remarkable. I hope that your expectations are fulfilled and my expectations not.
We're going to get it done. We are, Lou. I can promise America we are going to get the legislation done that lets Donald Trump implement his vision of making America great again. He is a great leader. He's going to be a great president. He's putting together a fabulous cabinet. Everything I've been talking about for 9 months, you're seeing it happen, much to the chagrin of the Democrats.
Absolutely. And Paul Ryan. Congressman Chris Collins, great to have you with us. Appreciate it.
Okay, good to be with you.
Good to see you. On Wall Street today, stocks finished mixed. The Dow, however, closing at a new record high, up 68 points. The S&P lost 8. The Nasdaq fell 73. Volume on the big board, heavy trading. 5 billion shares today. Crude oil climbing for a second straight session, settling above $51 a barrel. The yield on the 10-year Treasury closing at a 17-month high, up to 2.44%. After a sell-off in the bond market. A reminder to listen to my reports 3 times a day, coast to coast, on the Salem Radio Network. Coming up next, it was 7 months ago that the president-elect made this campaign promise.
Believe me, if I were in office right now, Carrier would not be leaving Indiana. That I can tell you.
Today, the president-elect following through on his words and in a big way. The president-elect set to take the stage in Cincinnati shortly. We are waiting, I assure you, with bated breath. The 5's Kimberly Guilfoyle joins me next, and we'll take up what we can expect there and what this president-elect is already accomplishing with about 49 days before he is inaugurated. The Five's Kimberly Guilfoyle, my guest here next. Stay with us. Donald Trump giving the hardworking people at Carrier reason to celebrate today. Here's how the Carrier employees found out they were losing their jobs. This back in February in a video that has gone viral.
And protect the business for long term is to move production from our facility in Indianapolis to Monterrey, Mexico.
You know, I don't know the name of the fella, but he's an SOB. I mean, it was just a ridiculous. I mean, how in the world could you talk to people who work for your company like that? I mean, outsourcing. I've been writing about it and talking about it for more than a decade. This is the ugliest thing that can happen to an employee, except, of course, have to train your replacement in the process. Joining me now, the Five's co-host, Kimberly Guilfoyle. Kimberly, great to have you here.
Hello.
There's some people irritating me tonight.
I can tell, but I won't say everything you said during the break. But you'll say it probably anyway.
Yes, I will. This guy, Paul Ryan.
Oh, yes, there you go.
I'm telling you, the Speaker of the House, a guy who in 17 years has never done anything. He runs around like a peacock, acting like he is some kind of all that. He's not even a little of that. And he will not even say the president-elect's name in talking about giving credit for the Carrier deal that was worked out between Donald Trump and I'm sure Governor Pence and others as well, and United Technologies and Carrier to save 1,000 jobs.
Yeah, 1,000. Now it's up to maybe 1,100. And by the way, each one of those families, you know, that matters. The holidays, these are people that are going to be able to sit around the table together in Christmas and celebrate and give thanks that someone actually cared about them, about their families, about their children, the fact that they could put food on the table and have money in their wallet and do a job that they feel proud of instead of sending it to Mexico. And I like this. I think this is just the beginning of what will be a movement in this country to keep jobs, manufacturing, you know, really boost the economy. Let's keep the automotive industry here. Let's manufacture more cars here. Why do we always have to give it away like we're upset or afraid to do well or an American exceptionalism?
You know, two presidents have BS the American people profoundly on the issue of outsourcing. One was George W. Bush and the other Barack Obama, both acting out as tools of corporate America, the Business Roundtable, the Chamber of Commerce. And Paul Ryan is still obviously tethered to those special interests, the corporate interests. It is appalling to think. And think about this. Donald Trump is actually delivering on the promise to put Americans first, to put America first.
And he's not even waiting till he takes office and is sworn in at the inauguration. No, he's doing it right now and sending a message. He's actually getting stuff done. It's remarkable because any other politician wouldn't even have taken this opportunity to make this happen, and they should get the credit. And instead, you know what we also hear from the Obama administration and Josh Earnest? Whining, being small-minded, not giving any credit, saying, oh, well, we created these jobs, and not giving the credit for what to do here.
Kimberly Guilfoyle, there you are.
There you
Thank
go.
you, Kimberly. We're coming right back. Stay with us. Well, let me bring you up to date on the growing number of calls for boycotts against a number of corporations over their increasingly political executives. Breitbart calling on its users to go to and rally to hashtag dump Kellogg's. After Kellogg said it would no longer advertise on the popular website, Kellogg's claims the site is, quote, not aligned with our values. Well, that's pitiful. Another company facing a boycott, Levi Strauss, after its CEO, Chip Bergh, told his customers to leave their guns at home, even in states where it's legal to carry your weapon concealed. Bergh joining Starbucks CEO Howard Schultz, who told his customers to leave their guns at home 3 years ago. Schultz is out at the coffee giant where baristas will greet you with some sort of left-wing nonsense often. Schultz, by the way, is leaving his post next year. He's known for his outspoken left-wing political views, endorsing both President Obama and Hillary Clinton. There you go. That's proof positive. Executives from Pepsi and Grubhub also under fire in recent weeks for their political comments against President-elect Trump. We'll follow these developments carefully and closely and report to you frequently, I assure you. Joining me now, political communications expert, partner at Maslansky and Partners, Lee Carter, former spokesperson for President George W. Bush, Republican strategist Mercedes Schlapp, and Republican campaign strategist Tony Sayegh. They are Fox News contributors. I mean, you guys are everywhere. Lee, you're in Los Angeles. Mercedes in D.C. Tony, you drew Philadelphia. I mean,
I drew Philly.
I tell you. Let's start with
Lou Dobbs country here, Lou.
I hope so. I'd love the whole country, every part of it. And by the way, I actually do. Tony, let's start with the Pennsylvania recount. How's it going?
Not very far and not very fast. Look, most of these states, by the way, Lou, and it should be known, have automatic triggers that basically happen with recounts when it's close enough to warrant that. And therefore, taxpayers have to absorb that expense. What we're now learning with this fabricated, forced recount by Jill Stein, which now we know the Hillary Clinton camp has ragtagged itself onto,
both of them
they're going to pay for
raising money on this.
They're raising money on it. They say they're paying for it. But guess what? Pennsylvania residents, Michigan residents, and Wisconsin residents, all hardworking folks, have to pay for a big part of it. And for what? To confirm what we already know. Even the Clinton campaign, Lou, their attorney has said there is no evidence at all that the results would be changed or there's any rigging or hacking as a result of some conspiracy theories being floated out there from the left.
Mercedes, the president-elect telling corporate America point blank there's not going to be any more outsourcing that doesn't have consequences. That's got to have our friends, brothers and sisters at the Business Roundtable, the Chamber of Commerce, quaking in their boots.
Well, I have to tell you, I think it's such a strong message that Donald Trump is sending to these companies, saying, first of all, look, we're going to encourage a business-friendly environment here in the United States. We're going to make sure that companies just don't step away and leave the United States. And I have to tell you, pushing forward a deal even before he was elected president, it's sending a strong message to these corporations, Lou.
And I couldn't agree with you more. I think that, and by the way, I think the result of all of this is going to be greater prosperity, not in any way diminished. Lee, your thoughts about, I want to get your thoughts, if I may, on all of these companies that are going political and getting hammered for it.
I think it's really, really unfortunate that, companies that have the right to do whatever they want to do, obviously. But I think that they're setting a precedent, and they're saying we're not even going to give this a chance. And they're not even listening to the whole message. And right now we're seeing a message